Here in South Africa, we're used to things going poorly, right? Every day you wake up and there's something new that you read that you just go, "Oh wow, here we go again." And especially in the last few months, the political landscape in South Africa has certainly woken up. Today is no different. In fact, today may actually be one of the bigger days that we've had in a series of very big days already leading up to this. We've been on this sort of decline for a long time now. The country is sort of moving slowly towards no man's land. But now there's a lot of bad news starting to come in. And really, I would say the last month or two has really just been an avalanche of straw after straw, crack after crack. And every single time the dam gets a little bit thinner, every single time the camel gets a little bit weaker. And this new series of just bad news may just be the thing that ultimately sinks this country. So, first, we have now a motion of no confidence being tabled by the MK party in Parliament for the National Assembly. And then we have a massive bill that just passed last night through committee in America that seeks to sanction the living crap out of South Africa and specifically South African leaders. Now, maybe the bill in America might be a little bit of good news on the South African front, but we'll talk about that after we talk about the motion of no confidence. The MK party tables their motion of no confidence, and they accuse the president effectively of not acting as the president should in firing Mukunu, who is the corruption embroiled ex-police police commissioner because he's on special leave or whatever. That's one of the reasons they're firing him. But furthermore, they make a lot of allegations of the crime levels, for example, right? Crime levels are increasing or still super, super high, and the president doesn't seem to do anything about those. There's a failure to address the deteriorating state of the South African police service, and allegations of interference in law enforcement agencies is highlighted. They make further claims about a lack of transparency regarding campaign funding, a failure to act decisively against corruption within state-owned enterprises. The list goes on. Now, I will refrain from saying pot, meat, kettle, black. I will not say that. But the irony should not be lost on you. This is Jacob Zuma's party accusing Ramaphosa of being a bad president. Jacob Zuma's party is only in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, only in South Africa. But let's talk about this motion of no confidence. So first, who will support it? Well, the EFF has already stated that they will, and the MK will. That's not enough. That gives them about 26% of the parliament. You need at least 50% of the parliament in order to make such a vote pass. They need the DA. None of the other parties matter. Like, even if they could get every other political party to vote on their behalf, they still only get to 40% because between the DA and the ANC, they control about 60% of the entire assembly. And the DA won't vote for this, and there's a good reason for it. It's not, in fact, the DA being spineless, although I do think they are. It's also not that the DA is, comfortable in their positions of power, although I do think they are. No, the DA's reason might actually be far more principled than you might think. So South Africa's constitution is a weird one. In South Africa, the constitution makes no provision for an early election. Instead, if the president is recalled by a majority margin of whichever nature, the president must resign as well as the entirety of the cabinet. And then the National Assembly has 30 days to choose a new president to rule in the absence of a president. And that new president must then choose a new cabinet, and they will then rule for the remainder of the term until such time that the president is chosen. In the interim, at least from the reading, it is the deputy president that usually then becomes the next president because, well, he's the deputy. That's especially the case in the ANC. You see, Paul Mashatile being the deputy president of the ANC wasn't Cyril Ramaphosa's choice. Cyril Ramaphosa had to make that choice because Paul Mashatile represents one of the largest factions within the ANC. This faction is radical economic transformation. They're the stealers, the looters. They're the faction of Jacob Zuma. they would like to go with the MK. They'd love to go with the EFF. They don't like the DA or the GNU. But in order to waylay them, in order to stop the party from splitting, Paul Mashatile was given the deputy president position. So you can imagine that there's a lot of sort of horse trading already going on within the ANC because Cyril Ramaphosa's term is coming to an end. This motion of no confidence puts added pressure on it. Now, in the event, of an open public vote of no confidence, Cyril Ramaphosa will most likely survive because the DA will not in open court oppose Cyril Ramaphosa, and no ANC member will in open parliament oppose Cyril Ramaphosa because they might not win, and if they don't win, they might be in trouble. This changes significantly if the National Assembly votes to have a closed vote, right? They could petition the speaker, and hopefully the speaker says yes. If the speaker says yes, things change significantly because Paul Mashatile's side may actually support a vote of no confidence. And that would make the vote of no confidence pass with flying colors because some in the DA may actually support the same thing. Although I think DA leadership might not. This does leave us with the worst case scenario. Paul Mashatile being the next president of South Africa, because who else would the country vote for? You could say John Steenhuisen, but the EFF and the MK will never support John Steenhuisen becoming the president of South Africa. Most in the ANC will probably never support that either, right? So who else becomes the president? Paul Mashatile. He will have the support, and the MK will gladly support him because he will immediately dissolve the GNU and side with the MK. He only needs the MK, and that would make for a coalition that can govern and rule the country, and they can get back to doing what they do best, and that is to loot. Now, that's the first bit of really bad news. The second, and perhaps far worse news, depending on how you see it, would be this. Ronnie Jackson, he is a representative in America's Congress. In 2023, there was a bill proposed to look at the relationship that South Africa and the United States has with each other. And this bill had quite a lot of bipartisan support. Remember, this was during the era of Joe Biden. So this had nothing to do with Trump. So America has been sick and tired of South Africa's antics for a while now. That bill sadly died in committee. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't have support. It's usually just that it can't get through committee. In committee, again, there's horse trading, right? There's, will you vote for my bill? Well, yes, but only if you vote for my bill, and then you have to vote for this bill and that bill. So they're horse trading, and then it passes. This was introduced earlier this year, and it just passed the committee. What this usually means, on average, it takes between 18 and 24 months for a bill to pass committee. The fact that this bill passed committee as quickly as it did is devastating. This means that it has massive bipartisan support. Pretty much everyone in committee was like, yeah, sure, no problem. This signals that America is sick and tired of South Africa. What does this bill say? Well, this bill will review the relationship that South Africa has with America, and it will also enable the President of the United States to investigate the leaders, political and otherwise, in South Africa to determine the relationship that they have with rogue elements throughout the world and terrorist elements around the world. Remember, you can follow me over on X for pretty much all of these updates in real time, and this is my profile there. But fundamentally, what you're looking at is a very real possibility of massive sanctions, not necessarily against the people of South Africa, but certainly against the leaders of the ANC, the EFF, the MK. So you could see things that happened in Russia when Russia invaded Ukraine, where a lot of those oligarchs had all of their money and assets frozen immediately. And the Americans have that power because they control SWIFT, and SWIFT controls all of the banks. So effectively, there's a lot of damage that America could do to South Africa and the South African economy should they choose to do so. This is a developing story. It's a big one, and it might actually be truly, well, bad for at least the leaders of this country. Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about all of this. Every like and every comment really does help out a ton. That's how YouTube suggests this content to more people. But if you're watching until now, you are an absolute trooper, and I truly appreciate you for that. Hit the like if you like, the dislike if you didn't. To all of the patrons, a massive shout out and thank you to you for supporting this channel. To become a supporter, hit the join button or click the link in the description down below. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.